Hi everyone, and welcome to day 4 of Art with Ms. Choate. And you can see today's gonna be a little bit different. Now I know not everyone can get outside. I'm lucky to have a yard, but if you can get outside in a safe area, today I want you to go gather a few little things, a little bit from nature. If you can't get outside, then house plants, found objects in the house. We'll go over that. I'll show you a collection, but let's see what we can find out here. All right, so my pockets are full. I got some nature, and let's go see what we can make, guys. But if you aren't able to go outside, or the weather by your area isn't accommodating to this right now, there's plenty of texture in your house that is still organic, is still nature. So you could get a handful of lentils. If you don't want to open up a bag of lentils, you can even use the whole bag. And we're just looking for texture. So this is why we're gathering these aspects. So let's get started and let's show you how to do a rubbing. When we do a rubbing, you can do it in crayon, you can do it in color pencil. I like to elevate the rubbings. Now, if you're doing this with a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old, then the rubbing is gonna be fantastic as it is. But if we wanna bring it up a notch, well, I'm gonna show you that. So the first thing you're gonna have to do is unwrap your crayon. Now, I didn't bring, unfortunately, any of my unwrapped ones already, so they're pretty easy to peel. And then you're gonna place, I like to do 2 layers. One that my objects are gonna go onto. I like to see how they're arranged. Now remember, we're creating art, so don't just drop them down, don't just throw them around. Think about it. What could you create with these? These lentils are actually pretty cool when it comes to arranging them. And you can do one object at a time, or you can start to add others. I'm gonna start by doing this one, and think about where you want that on your final piece of paper. So this is my final paper. So I'm gonna go right here. Now you might find that you need to have your crayon completely unwrapped for this to work well. Littler objects are going to move around, but that's fine. We're looking for texture. That's our word of the day, texture. These are interesting. Let's see what we can turn them into. So I'm gonna move these little guys aside. So now that I have another color, let's try out this bag. Let's see what we get. Now remember, even your motions that you're creating, they're creating lines on the page. Think about how you set up your image. Is it gonna be abstract? Is it gonna be realistic? Are you gonna talk to your child about what could this be? Honestly, right now I see a dragon. I see this purple head, these beautiful blue wings, and I might keep going with that idea. So maybe the first few things you do are you're just kind of throwing things down, and after that you start to turn it into something. Now, some other great home textures, fruit. I could try to take and add some orange peel texture right here. I'm still gonna think about this being a wing. I like that soft texture we're getting there. You can also use some crumpled up foil. I got some bread in here, but you can use the foil as texture. So let's see that being, I'm gonna do purple again, thinking about the body, scales. Come back over here to get that same texture. You can, anything in the house, everything in the house is textured. Texture on this metal. You could try out, I collect some geodes. How does that texture look? So go ahead and have a scavenger hunt with your kids around the house, in the house, out in the yard. Where can you find texture? So we can play. I can even, you know what? I want to set this one aside for right now because I like how it's going, and I want to do another one. So I want to play now with, those were all indoor things mostly. So I want to play with some outdoor. You can also think about this as being a still life. Now, for those of you who don't know, a still life is an arrangement of objects, and you can either photograph it, paint it, draw it, and I like to see how I can make the space. How can I play with line? How can I play with texture? So you're going to take some time to arrange them. You could document it. You take a photo of it. That's art. All of this. There's so much to do with what we had right around the house, right outside, right inside. So I'm going to start. I like how this line is. Actually, and I love that shadow. You can even, a detour. I wasn't going to talk about this, but since I have this nice light coming from this camera, you guys can do the same thing with a light. Hold an object, and then you can trace the shadow. This is similar to yesterday's where we were tracing on the mirror. You can do this with figurines. So like if you have a dinosaur figurine, you could trace the dinosaur with the shadow. You know what, we might dive into this more tomorrow, this shadow idea. But if you want to do a little bit of shadow today and then go into your texture, that's fantastic. So let's get these lines. Now today's project might be a little messy. So if you want to put down a placemat or work on a table that can get a little bit of nature on it, do keep that in mind. When I lived with my sister, she had a rule, no nature in the house. Clearly, now that I live on my own, I don't listen to that. So I'm gonna set this guy aside. This was from a plant inside the house, which wasn't getting enough sun, so it's moved locations. Don't worry, it's still alive. And we're gonna take a different, I was doing purple, now I'm gonna do blue. Leaves are really like one of the best. Look at that. Oh, that's so pretty. So it doesn't matter how old you are, this project can be so relaxing. Even if you just go out and get 5 leaves, put them under your paper. Now it's better if they're flat and not dried. I could only, in my yard, I have a bunch of evergreens and then I just have dried leaves. So that's fine. Have them overlap. Now, when I see a lot of student artwork, they look like this. One here, one up here. Play with the overlapping idea. That's gonna make your artwork be more engaging, more exciting. Let's do this leaf maybe right here. Let's do a purple. Once we're done with our rubbings, then we can go back in color pencil, crayon, gel pen, marker, anything you have, and add detail. That's where you can have some fun. If you're older, younger students may be already done with this idea, but sometimes it looks like it's like magic with a little kid. They're amazed by what happens. So when the object has texture and flatter, it's gonna be easier than the things we were doing from the house that I could find. Those tend to be a little bit harder to rub. But now we have this, so I'm gonna push these things aside. I have 2 nice ones. Let's pull that dragon back. So here are 2 somewhat finished. Now if you have a 3-year-old or 4-year-old or even sometimes 5, we'll just stop it here. And maybe you pick it up later or they think it's done as it is. But if you want a little bit more zing, a little bit more complication added, we can go ahead and add details. This is where it can get really fun. So we'll start with this dragon. I don't know about you guys, maybe, I hope you guys see what I see, but I am loving this. So I'm gonna take a purple color pencil and I'm gonna start to add some detail. Now, if you wanna look at an image, that's fine. I tell my students you can look, but please, please, please do not trace. Never trace. You'll never get better if you let yourself trace. And what I mean by tracing, you print out an image and you put your paper on top of it and you go over it. You're not gonna learn. But if you put it here next to it and you're looking, you will learn. However, it won't be yours. You'll be getting better at looking and drawing, and that's totally fine. But maybe what we want to do is learn how to be creative and learn how to create something that's totally yours. This has never been created before. And maybe now I could go in with some marker. And I could do the same thing with the dragon here, like eye, nostril. And this is what we call mixed media. So you're doing multiple different mediums together. And I believe that enriches the subject. Now it's almost starting to look like a unicorn or a horse with wings, going away from the dragon aspect, because it kind of looks like hair, and that's okay. We'll see where it takes us. And so anyways, you get the idea with this. You can keep pumping it up, keep playing with it. Now let's go to this one. This one I would consider a little bit more relaxing, a little bit more therapeutic, because there's no right and wrong. There's no idea in your head of what it should look like. So I can go in with my colored pencils. I can start coloring in these leaves. Remember yesterday I talked about creating your own coloring pages? This is exactly that. You created your own coloring page. So I can go in with these colored pencils. Remember to blend. So that means that you put your colors on top of each other and you layer. If you don't know what two colors are going to make, try it. Find out what happens. There's no right and wrong on this one. Not that there is on this one either, but I found myself starting to not like what I was creating, and that's why I want to give it a break. I'm going to let it sit there. I honestly regret doing the marker with it, but that's okay because I'm learning from it, and that's what matters. So you can go back in. You can go in with some markers, add more lines. You could go in with crayon more if you wanted to, more colored pencils, and really play with what you've created. Remember to take your time, don't rush, and see where these take you. See what you can create with them. It's really endless options. This is just, taking nature is a way to force yourself out of what you're used to. If you're always used to creating little characters, or if you're always used to drawing geometric shapes, this forces you to create something different. It's kind of taking that chance, is taking that the idea out of your own hands. You create something and see where you can take it from there. You may not like it. You may do 4, and finally on the 5th one, you like what you created, and that's okay. Because just as long as you're taking that time to create, you're taking the time to calm down however you need to, then that's all that matters. So I hope you're having a wonderful Thursday. Thank you for joining me for Art with Ms.Choate Nature Edition, Nature Inside. And have a wonderful day, and please join me for Friday's lesson. And if you have anything you want to see tomorrow, comment below. Please post photos of the art that you make. All right, guys, so remember to take your time, slowly create. Don't pressure yourself. There's no right and wrong when it comes to art. So either if it comes to this one, where you're doing the rubbings of nature and you're keeping it completely abstract, or if you're trying to make it a little more figurative, like this one. Oops. Remember, there's no right and wrong. If it's making you upset, then stop. You don't need to do this. You can take a break, come back to it. If you don't like this type, then try to find something that you do like. It's all about being creative. Art is about expressing yourself, however that might be. So I hope you had a good time with us doing nature rubbings, and I hope you come back tomorrow to see what we have in store. I think we might be doing those shadow drawings. That is getting me excited. So please stay tuned for that. Click the subscribe button. I'd really appreciate that. And let me know what you want to see. Comment below. And have a wonderful Thursday, everyone. Bye. Thank you for joining.